Chapter 2.7 Introduction to Intervals. This is the last unit that we have in Section 2 before we go on. An interval is the difference in pitch between two sounds or tones. Difference can also be thought of as the distance between two sounds or tones. Based on that distance, intervals have number names reckoned from the number of letter names used in forming them. As you'll see here, we have a first, or unison as they are called, second, a second, a third, here, a fourth, and remembering that the first note is always considered 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For a sixth, starting 1 at the first note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have a seventh, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have the full octave, where then, after the octave, it basically repeats. Alright? The tones of an interval may be sounded separately as a melody or together as a chord, how we have here, C and D. The second, C and E. Third, C and F. The fourth, C and G, the fifth, C and A, the sixth, C and B, the seventh, and C and C, the full octave. Now, one good way that I use to kind of remember these, that I'm not sure if any of these may apply to you or if you can be familiar, why not mention them anyway? When I'm trying to hear a second, it helps me to tell that it's a second by picturing the first note spelling up to the fifth in the scale and listening just at the first two notes out of those 5. If it sounds like it can form the rest of the scale from those 2 notes, or like it's starting a scale, you know it's a second, at least a major second for now. A third, like this. This is also a major third, which we'll learn more about later. A third, I think of this one as the doorbell interval. Doorbell, like that. The perfect fourth is pretty easy to recognize because you have the "Here comes the bride, here comes the bride." That is what a fourth, a perfect fourth, as it's also known as. It's one way how to tell that. One way how to tell that you're hearing a fifth is think of the 2 notes as the first 2 notes of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, which they actually are. See? 1 and 5. So when you hear those 2, think Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. A major sixth. Who knows if anyone has ever heard of NBC, but that's all I got for this one. Have you ever heard that? The NBC tone? That's how you know you're listening to a major sixth. And a major seventh, what I usually try to do is listen and see if the top note is very dissonant, a major seventh like this. I try to see if the top note is trying to augment up to the full octave. And if it sounds like it's trying to push up to that whole octave, you know that this is this type of seventh. And an octave is listening for the exact same note, an octave higher. Or another way you can think of it, somewhere how you can tell it's an octave. So that's some pretty interesting ways that I use to remember those. Maybe you can create your own. Now the next part, one last thing to mention. The change of one or both notes of an interval by an accidental, be it a sharp, a flat, or a natural, does not change its number name as long as the position of the lines and spaces is still the same distance as the interval. Thus, each of the following is still a third regardless of all of these accidentals, as there is only one letter named D between them. Right? As we'll learn as we go on further, you'll learn about where we're getting these different distinctions. But with this, I can show you an example quick. That's a major third, still a third, right? That's a minor third, still, however, a third, C and E. This is another minor third, still, the note itself, regardless of the accidentals, is a C and an E, meaning it's a third. Here we have, that's a diminished third, still a third, however. Here we have, right there, that is also a diminished third. Right here, still a third, because C and E, but that's a major third here. Now here, C flat and E flat. Still a third, because C and E, except it's a major third. And this last one, C flat and E double flat. That one is a minor third. So that's the end of section 2. I'd advise you to go review these concepts before you continue on to the next section, in section 3. And we will pick up where we left off.